Back to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something quite specific, a fascinating bit of historical medical text.
We are. We're looking at William Boericke's homeopathic Materia Medica.
And focusing right in on one entry, Bothrops Lanceolatus. That's the yellow viper. It's quite a window into how they saw things back then.
Absolutely. And what strikes you immediately with these kinds of sources, like in Materia Medica, is just the incredible level of detail in the observations. They really mapped things out. And for the yellow viper, the absolute core idea right up front is its venom. It's described as most coagulating.
Most coagulating. Okay, that's pretty intense language.
Yeah.
So how does the text unpack that? What does that actually look like in terms of symptoms?
Right, exactly. Because it's so strongly coagulating, the Materia Medica essentially predicts symptoms of thrombosis, clots, and related thrombotic phenomena.
So actual physical blockages.
Yes. They list really severe examples like hemiplegia, that's paralysis down one side of the body, and aphasia.
Aphasia. Trouble speaking.
Yeah, but specifically described as an inability to articulate, sometimes without any affection of the tongue. So the tongue itself might seem fine, but speech is impossible. It's quite specific.
Wow, that really paints a picture. So how does this core clotting action connect to the bigger picture, the whole person?
Well, it ties into the kind of patient this remedy was thought for. It's associated with broken down hemorrhagic constitutions.
Meaning people already weak and prone to bleeding.
Precisely. And also septic states, so severe infections. The general symptoms listed are pretty dramatic, things like great lassitude and sluggishness, just profound exhaustion.
Okay.
And then hemorrhages from every orifice of the body, just bleeding everywhere, and even black spots appearing on the skin.
Black spots, like bruising or something else.
It sounds like more than just bruising, perhaps small areas of tissue damage or pooling blood. And there's this really curious mention of a diagonal course of symptoms.
Diagonal, what does that mean?
It suggests the symptoms progress across the body, maybe from, say, the upper right to the lower left. And it adds that conditions are generally worse right side. It gives this strained, almost patterned feel to the illness.
That is strange. And you mentioned specific body parts earlier. Some of those details really stood out when I was reading.
Oh, definitely. The eye symptoms are quite something. You have amaurosis, which is blindness, sometimes explicitly from hemorrhage into retina, so bleeding inside the eye causing blindness.
Okay, direct consequence of the bleeding tendency.
Right, but then there's hemorrhopia, day blindness.
Day blindness.
Yeah. The text says the person can hardly see her way after sunrise. Imagine, fine at night, but daylight impairs vision. Very peculiar.
That's incredibly specific.
Yeah.
And the face.
Described as swollen and puffy with a besotted expression, kind of a dazed, intoxicated look. Again, very vivid.
It really is. What about, say, the throat or digestion? Does it follow that severe pattern?
It does. The throat is red, dry, constricted. Swallowing is difficult, and there's even an inability to pass liquids.
Can't even swallow liquids.
Carefully. And in the stomach, you see black vomiting, likely digested blood-intense humidemesis, which is just vomiting large amounts of fresh blood, and bloody stools.
So severe internal bleeding manifesting.
Exactly. And the skin descriptions are frankly chilling. Swollen, livid, cold with hemorrhagic infiltration. That sounds like blood pooling under the skin, making it look bruised and feel cold. And it can progress to gangrene and malignant erysipelas, a severe skin infection. It's a picture of systemic collapse.
It really is. And the Materia Medica even tries to compare Bothrops to other venoms, right? In the relationship section.
Yes, and that's fascinating too. It shows how they were trying to differentiate these powerful substances. For instance, they compare it to Toxicophis, the moccasin snake.
What's the distinction there?
With Toxicophis, it mentions pain and fever that can supposedly recur annually, sometimes even changing location. Very different from the acute Bothrops picture.
Interesting, like a lingering effect.
Sort of. And then there's Trichinus, the stingfish. That one's noted for intolerable pains, massive swelling, and acute blood poisoning, also potentially leading to gangrene. It highlights their effort to map out these distinct patterns of toxicity. So looking back at this Bothrops entry, it really is a remarkable snapshot. It shows this incredibly detailed symptom mapping, offering a unique view into historical medical observation and thinking.
Yeah, it's more than just a list of scary symptoms. So what's the final thought here? What do we take away from diving into this yellow viper entry?
Well, I think it underscores just how meticulous these observers were even centuries ago, capturing details like day blindness or that diagonal course without modern tools. It's impressive.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Consider how that intense focus on observation, even within an older medical framework like homeopathy, reflects this enduring human drive, this need to understand and systematize the body's complex, sometimes terrifying responses to the world around it. It kind of prompts you to reflect on the sheer power of careful observation itself in understanding both illness and maybe pathways to healing.
Solat Farid sayang ya. Solat. Sure not, dah solat. Okay.